So good morning, and welcome back. This is vlog part 4 of MALAZAN Memories of Ice. So continuing on from where we left off, which was the battle between the Grey Swords and the Chain Chamail, and the Telanimas showing up, and they're headed to go towards Brood. Well, they're headed for Silver Fox really, because she's calling to them. So these undead Telanimas are on the way there because Silver Fox is who's calling them, or whose call they hear. So they're on the way there. So continuing on from there, we are back with Tok the Younger and Tool. Now, this chapter consists heavily of Tok the Younger going through some stuff. And through Tok the Younger, we're learning quite a lot of lore about Malazan, the Malaz Empire, and all the other sort of realms and districts around Malaz. So what we first learn is that Tok is now being spoken to by what seems to be an elder god in his head. So he's having these conversations. So through this he learns that Baljag, the dog that is with Lady Enver, is actually a Tilan A, or I. I don't know how you're going to say that. It's A-Y. So I. That's how I'd say it. And we go through a little bit of their history, how I think this is a female dog and she has mothered some other dogs in her memories. But here's the connection, or at least the connection I've made. So she is a Tilanai. Baljag is a Tilanai. So therefore then she is from the time of ice, i.e. her memories, her ancient memories, are memories of ice. So is that going to be the case with every title of every book that we, barring Gardens of the Moon, or should we say a majority of the books, are we going to be talking about houses, about warrens, about gates? Because Deadhouse Gates is a gate. Memories of Ice. No, that's not a gate, is it? So what am I talking about? House of Chains, the next book in the series, is a gate. So do we go gate, normal, gate, normal? Is that the kind of the pattern? Anyway, neither here nor there, is it? That's just my ticky brain ticking over. So what we do learn is that Baljag needs Tool's help. She doesn't really want to be alone anymore. She's had all this time being like this mother figure, the mother essence of the book again, being this mother figure, looking after these others. She doesn't really want to feel alone, and she's looking for Tool to help her. Tool apparently can't help her, but they both have their own quest, which is, I'm gathering, to meet up with Paran, Silver Fox, Bridgeburners, and the rest of the Telanimas that are going to show up there to join in with this great war. So that's what I'm getting from that. Also, what we've learned, and it was probably mentioned in Gardens of the Moon and I missed it, or maybe Deadhouse Gates, is that Tok in the battle was hit by a piece of moonspawn, which is made of obelisk, and in an ancient deck of holds that's known as menhir. So from this touch, and because Tok too, when him and Hairlock had the fight and he was shoved into this warren, it's like this chaos warren, which led him through to a vortex to Rent. When he came out of Mons, and it sort of spat him out and didn't want him there, and that's surprising because that doesn't usually happen. But because of all this and the fact that he was touched by the obelisk, Tool renames him. He gives him another name, which is Arrol Fail. So he's now known from Tool as Arrol Fail, or Faile. Arrol Faile. So he's got another name. So because Tok's mind is taken by another who's hurt, like a soul taken, we learn that their name is Treach, or Trake, depending on who you speak to. They have, you know what it's like with Stephen Erickson's books. His characters have varied names. They have all sorts of names, which does make the following quite hard. You do have to pay close attention to the names, otherwise you can get so confused in the characters. But Treach, the Tiger of Summer, the Talons of War, and the Silent Hunter are some of his aliases. And the Talanimas slaughtered them. So, in revenge, they ripped up the warren, ripped it to pieces, and put an end to the First Empire, which by rights was hubris, a name rightly that the Talanimas should have owned. That was by rights for the Talanimas to own. So they did that in revenge. But then they ran away. Once they'd done that, they ran away. And the few that survived, Treach found that he saw this wolf, this one-eyed wolf, and shared himself with the wolf. So he's lived for quite some time within the wolf. And this, again, is historical. This is going back in history. So chapters 7 and 8, which I've read over the weekend, I'm now up to 9. There's an awful lot of lore. There's an awful lot of going back and learning in certain cases, how we've come to where we're at, or how certain characters have got to where they are, which is very enjoyable, very enjoyable. So, yes, we're with Treach, and Treach is sharing their story with Tok of how they've shared time with this one-eyed wolf. And sadly, the demons, which is the Kachane Chamail, they have attacked the wolf. And in attacking the wolf, they've also attacked Treach. And the two now lay dying. And the man inside of the wolf spots this shape of a woman, and she comes over to help. And she is basically stroking what is the wolf, but talking to what is the man, and saying how you've been sort of imprisoned in here for so long, you've almost forgot who you are. You need to now remember who you are, and pass with that knowledge of who you are, because you're going to be needed later on. There's more to this world than meets the eye, and you're going to be needed at a later point. So with these kind words, and we learn also within this chapter that was Kilava, Tool's sister, who nursed him at that time. So we learn those elements. We also get told about the elder god who is active again, and they're the most ancient of all. Now, are we referring to the crippled god in this? Is the most ancient of all the crippled god, or are we going to find out about something new that we haven't learnt about yet? I'm presuming it's the crippled god. That's what we're talking about, but potentially, we could get thrown in a new one that we haven't really heard about yet. So within this elder god talking to Tok, we also get this information about the Panian seer and the children of the Panian seer. So the Panian seer is the matriarch or matron of our children. So that is who the Panian seer is. So I had that idea, but I think that's kind of potentially confirmed now that that's who that is. So this elder god is talking to Tok about how we need to release the children of the Panian seer because they're suffering. So these demons that are attacking people apparently are actually suffering. And Tok apparently must go to the seer's embrace and help with this and try and release the children. So very, very strong, very, very strong paternal, maternal, more maternal than paternal, but maternal elements within the themes of this book at the moment. Very, very maternal. Then we moved on to Lady Envy and Gareth, the other dog, and they're in Callows. And over the course of 10 days, everyone in Callows has been slaughtered. And so she has been summoned there by Carul. And now maybe this is the elder god that's come back. I don't know. There's an elder god that's come back, and I'm still at this point not certain whether it's the crippled god or whether we're talking about Carol or whether we're actually going to meet a different god. I'm not sure. But anyway, Lady Envy has been called to go and see Carol. And she was actually told by Carol that she needed to gain the Segulay slaves. She had to get them because they're needed by Carol to enter the seer's throne room at Panion Domin. So we're learning the reasoning behind that. As I say, these chapters are very, very much covering the missing links. So these are the fill-ins to the missing links, the bits and bobs that were potentially have missed out on information-wise. So we also learn that there were a group of gods, etc., who were there at the ritual of chaining for chaining down the crippled god to Brood, or the sleeping goddess, however you want to refer to her. Burn, sorry, not Brood, Burn. Lady Envy was requested to be there and didn't show up. So Krull is pretty annoyed that she actually didn't show up. His blood runs through her veins, it's said, so that she should have shown up when requested because he requested it and she didn't. So he's a little bit annoyed with her about that she kind of didn't follow orders. Now, because of this, I think it's because of this is the way I'm reading it, is potentially because of this, Lady Envy, with people using her warrens, and that is in essence like her flesh, she is suffering. He basically shows her this flash. He gives her this flash of what is yet to happen, and this is her losing blood. She's dying slowly because people are using her warrens. And then she asks, who knows? And the likes of Anamanda Rake and Draconis and Osric, and there's a handful of others. And he says, and now you. And she is mortified by this information. She obviously had no idea that this was happening, but now she does. And now this is sort of a wake-up call to do as you're being told sort of thing. Do as you're told, and potentially we can avoid this. But if you don't, this is what's happening. But Krull goes on to explain to Lady Envy that he himself is actually quite frightened of the crippled god and what his capabilities are. So he needs Lady Envy to guard Tok. There's more importance to Tok than we realise at this moment. So he needs her to guard him. There's a wildness in Tok that he needs to come forward, and because of the poison that the crippled god is putting out there into these warrens and into the earth, if Tok goes into these warrens, he may not survive the poison. So he needs Lady Envy to just basically protect Tok. Lady Envy will potentially survive it, but Tok won't. And she's apparently also now, I'm just reading off my notes, she's apparently also now got to go and find the Segul that's got the twin scars. So she's working it out as that maybe is either the 4th or the 5th, because they're all sort of ranked by these scars on the masks. So she has to now go and find the twin scars, the one with the twin scars mask. With painted lips. This is somebody she's got to find. So that's what we learn from that part of the Lady Envy chapter. Then we go back to the Grey Swords. They found Gruntle's crew, because if we remember, Gruntle's crew got attacked by the demons, as we're going to refer to them now. We know who they are. They're the Kachane, Chamail, but we're going to refer to them as demons. So Gruntle's crew, that's Beauchelane, Broach, Buke, Reese and the Baghurst, got attacked by the demons, and everybody else, barring Beauchelane and Broach, because they are of dark magic like necromancer and demon calling, everybody else is in like this sort of deep sleep, barring one. So we learn that. Not sure where Beauchelane and Broach get their sorcery from, whether they are of a a hell, sort of a version of hell in Malazan. They delve into the deeper side and darker side of magic. I'm not sure. That hasn't been approached yet, but Pranchol of the Tilani Mass thinks that Broach is a eunuch and Beauchelane is of a more arcane interest, a summoner of formidable power. That's how it's put in the book. So that's what we learn about that. But they are heavily injured and they need, obviously, some help because this is a mess. This scene is a mess. When we find out about this new Tilani Mass, they also have Tilani with them, who, as I say, are from wolves of the time of ice. So again, this piques my interest in the witch of Tens, who has been mentioned in previous chapters, and Quick Ben's acknowledgement of what she said about staying cold. So there is this tie there, and I know one of my friends, Ida, who is an author herself, has commented on my previous video that yes, there is something about this witch. Thank you, Ida. I know. I just don't know what. It's driving me insane. I hope within this particular novel we're going to find out who this witch Tens is, because so far we've not found out yet, and it's kind of doing my nut in, to put it in a Mancunian way. It's doing my nut in. I want to know who she is. Is she same as them from the time of ice? Is she undead? Is this witch potentially the matriarch of our children? Is that who she is? I still have questions about this witch that I need answers to. So then we get to Gethel, who is Jack Hurt, and he is the herald for the Hood. And we go back to Brooke Hallion, who is in Capistan, and Brooke Hallion is wandering, pacing around his office, and Jack Hurt shows up and offers him and his soldiers a way out with this Panian war. He says you can use Hood's warren to fight against the crippled god, but when the time comes, use it when the time comes. But once it's something along them lines. I'm a little bit confused about it, I must admit. So it's either he can use Hood's warren to fight the crippled god, or he can use Hood's warren to get him and his soldiers out of that situation, go through the warrens to kind of where Hood is and wait it out, because there is a bigger, more severe war coming, what they're needed for. And Brooke Hallion, being who he is, refuses the offer of the Tilani Mass and of the Jack Hurt, and 3 of the Tilani Mass that came back with the sort of messenger to say what had happened to Itvocan and his warriors with the demons on the field at that point. They show up and they want to capture, because obviously for this whole time Tilani Mass have been searching for Jag Hurt, and this is one Jag Hurt that's escaped them this whole time, and they want to capture Gethel as well. So Brooke Hallion, it's remembering all these bloody names. Brooke Hallion refuses the offer, says he's rather stay and fight because he's honourable to his cause. The Tilani Mass show up to capture this Jag Hurt, because that's their ultimate life's quest, is to capture Jag Hurt, and the Jag Hurt disappears, goes back. But something happens with that. But we jump back to another character before we get to that. So we get back to Gruntle, and he's been severely damaged in this battle with the demons, his fight with the demons in the caravan, and he's in pain, but they've force healed him. The Grey Swords, the Capistan, have force healed him, so he's got to take his time coming round. Unfortunately, at this time, Stoney has to give him news of Harlow. Harlow sadly didn't make it out of this battle. He is buried under stones because in the midst of the battle, Harlow threw himself between Gruntle, Stoney and the demons, and in essence did his last heroic hurrah and sacrificed himself for his friends. So sadly, we've lost the character of Harlow. So beginnings of chapter 8, we're going back to Gethel. Gethel has tried to go back to Hud, but Hud has now thrown him out because he's not, in essence, finished. I'm trying to look for the word. Finished his role as the herald for Hud and brought Brookhallen as he wanted him to. So Hud's abandoned him now. You're on your own. So he's left basically to fend for himself. And Gethel is using his warrens to try and find where to go. And he is staring at a cold, airless realm of Omtos Felak. Now, Omtos Felak has been mentioned prior. Omtos Felak is the warren where Kilava told the children to go of the Jaghurt woman right at the beginning in the prologue. She told the Jaghurt children to go through this warren in this ruin, which was the Omtos Felak. But because of the crippled god, the Omtos Felak is poisoned. So when Pranchol told Kilvala in the prologue that the children probably haven't made it, it's because this is where the crippled god is hiding. This is where he is, chained to Burn. So he goes through into this warren and he meets the crippled god. And the crippled god gives him a display of the deck of dragons. And the crippled god holds the House of Chains card. So with this House of Chains card, he offers Gethel the position of the throne of this particular house, because he knows now, or we at least know now, and it has been mentioned, but it's been brought forward to our attention, that the crippled god is preying on, I wouldn't say the weak-minded, I think that's the wrong way to put it, but that's kind of in essence what it is. He's preying on those who have got vengeance in the heart, who have got anger and some form of vengeance, because he's going to use that as a tool for himself. So because Gethel has now got vengeance against Hud, etc., he's now brought him in and he's offering him the throne. Eventually, Gethel makes somewhat of a little bit of an argument, not very convincing, and he takes the offer and he agrees to Hud's plan. But here's my thoughts on that. I have some thoughts on that. I could be overlooking at it. I potentially think maybe, is this a plan in itself? Is Gethel taking the throne a plan in itself from the what we'll call the good side, sort of the bridge burners and all those against the crippled god? Is this a plan already set in motion by them for Gethel to take this throne? Or is it just simply that Gethel has fell into the trap of the chaos mindset, the revenge mindset, and is taking the throne because of that? I'm not sure, so I have a question in regards to that. Is Gethel taking it for his own wants and needs and desires, or has Gethel, via elder god, someone, taken this throne because it's all part of the bigger plan? Then we're back with the bridge burners. And we've got Cole and Krupp and Murillo and Quickben, the plain bones. And Whiskey Jackie's just sitting by the side watching. And Kruppe is seemingly cheating and Quickben is trying to suss. How does he keep getting what is the winning hand? I can't remember if Gardens of the Moon explained to us who Kruppe was. I think it did. But if it did, I can't quite remember what it was. So in the comments, if you guys know what that was, just to re-enlighten me to that, because I don't really want to go back to Gardens of the Moon and reread it. I'd just like that little snippet of information. So if you guys remember if it was sort of explained in Gardens of the Moon, because I've got a sneaky suspicion it was, if Kruppe was given more explanation as to who he is, because I think it was in relation to the alchemist who he's with. But just let me know in the comments if that is a thing, because I'm not sure if Kruppe has been explained or not, but I kind of think he has. So anyway, they're doing that, and then Corlac comes in and says to Whiskey Jack, Amanda Rake would like to have a conversation with you. So he goes to Amanda Rake's tent and they have a conversation. And what they get into is the history, the lore of how Whiskey Jack met Quick Ben. And oh my goodness, is that interesting. Not only do we find out that Quick Ben, this is how he gained his warrants, is by saving his friends. All the mages that were with him have died. They were on the run because of something that they did, and they've all died. And I believe that Quick Ben has consumed their essences or souls, or however we're referring to it in Malazan, and they have become, because they were all mages, so they've become his warrants, and that's how he's got so many. So he has 12 warrants in total. He had his own already, hence him being a mage, but then he's taken on his friends because in essence he doesn't want to leave them behind. So now he has 11 extra warrants on top of his own. Whiskey Jack is explaining this story to Amanda Rake. Rake didn't ask for it, but Whiskey Jack knows that Rake wants to know. He's very curious about Quick Ben, so he explains that. So yeah, I found that really interesting. And the other thing I found very interesting, and I don't think this has been explained before, again, more law, we like the law, because it ties everything together, doesn't it? How Callum and Quick Ben came up with a plan. So Whiskey Jack had no idea, and when it comes to the time of capture of Quick Ben, well, Callum already knew about this. This was already discussed and already planned. And the one who spots it out is Fiddler. And within this particular bit of law, this is how Fiddler gets his name, because he laughs in a moment where he shouldn't have laughed. So he gets a little bit of a telling off from Whiskey Jack, and Whiskey Jack is asking him about the helmet he's got on and why is he wearing it in this heat, and he says it's filled with cold sand and blah blah blah. And then he says, and that fiddle, what are you doing with that? Oh, I bought it hoping to learn it. And then one of the other guys says, and he can't even play it. But Fiddler says, well, no, because you punched it, but I wanted to learn how to play it. So that's how he gets his name, Fiddler. They all end up, all the bridge burners get their names from who they are. And one whose name suits him down to a T is Antsy. Antsy's name could not be more appropriate for that character, but Antsy's name is perfect for him. And I assume Quick Ben gets his name because he's a very quick thinker. That's how I assume he's got his name from that. So yeah. So then after the conversation with Whiskey Jack and Rake then calls for I forget her name. For his lady who's there, Caltor, something like that, for her to come back in, and he then informs her that we need to keep an absolute watch on Silver Fox. We do not let Calor get anywhere near Silver Fox, and if he does, the Telanimas will deal with him. Simple as that. So that's kind of that. And then we go to Mabe. We end chapter 7 with Mabe, and she's having a dream where she's back to how she was. Excuse me, she's back young. She's back to herself prior to giving birth to Silver Fox, where she's actually back where she gave birth to Silver Fox in Talan's Warren. And she's pleading. I feel so bad for Mabe. She's pleading with the spirits to just end her life. And the spirits that she's pleading to are Jag Hun, Iruth, Medellin, Serental, I don't know how you say that, Pard, Nuprul, Manek, and Ibindur. Those are the gods that or the spirits that she's pleading to, the Rahibi spirits. And this is in her dream. And then she comes out of her dream. She exits her tent, and there in front of her is Krupe, as I call him. And he has a box. He has a box for Mabe. And within this box is some talks. And Mabe, these talks are made of copper. And Mabe is saying, I've already got copper on. I don't see how it's going to help me with my aging. I've been wearing it all this time and it's not doing anything. And Krupe sort of, ha. But these are no ordinary talks, my dear. These are the talks of the spirits. These are the talks of the spirits I've just mentioned. And each one has their own individual talk. These were found in sort of chambers underneath Darujistan by scholars, and they've been looked at and assessed, and these have been clarified as the talks of these other spirits. So he basically tells Maeve that she needs to wear them all day and all night. Now, there's also the thing of, whilst she was in her dream, there were footsteps, leather-bound footsteps or footprints where she was walking. Who's that? Who's walking in Maeve's dreams? Who's walking through Maeve's dreams? There's a question there. There's another part of this. This is quite a long video because I'm doing catch-up, so this is probably going to be an hour or so video. What I've loved in this chapter is that Stephen Erickson has made a point with the bridge burners of adding in the element of mental health. We have this, and he mentioned it prior as well via Paran, how we have this ritual, that is this spiritual ritual that is performed when you join the bridge burners and when you leave the bridge burners. And it is to, in essence, if we put it in modern day terms, to prevent the possibility of PTSD as a soldier. And I just wanted to mention that because one of my very good friends, Maya, of Marilyn Maya, I can't remember her full title, but we will put it in the description. If not, pop it up on the screen somewhere. Her and her friend Kim are currently doing Mental Health May. So if you have the time, nip on over, support them, because you will at least know one person in your life who has and suffers with mental health issues. So if we can support people who are calling out mental health and saying, you know, it's a thing, we need to be more aware, then why not support them? I myself have mental health issues and my daughter suffers, so we're big supporters of that. So I just wanted to add that in there. But again, we go back to Quick Ben, who is struggling through the Warrens because they're poisoned, and he can smell the crippled god. So Quick Ben is having to jump the Warrens, but he's following someone or something. He senses someone or something and is following them. So when he gets to this particular Warren, he finds that there are wards binding the ground of Hood's Warren. He gets to Hood's Warren and he finds that there's wards, sort of these drawings, these bindings on the ground. Then he comes across a shaman, and this shaman is of the White Faces, and he is bound to Hood's Warren, and his name is Talamandus. Talamandus, I have to sound it out phonetically. Talamandus, born of the first hearth in the Knotted clan. And they have a conversation about how Whiteface ended up there, how he needs to be released so he can go back and help his people. Here he can't do that, he's stuck. He needs to be able to go and help his people. And he's pleading to Quick Ben his case. And Quick Ben, after having this back and forth conversation with him, and if memory serves me right, I think Quick Ben asks him a question to which he approves of the answer, which is he doesn't want to go back for selfish reasons, he wants to go back for his people. So Quick Ben frees him using these, I think it's sandworms, which then break the chains that he's chained to the Hood's Warren with, and he frees Talamandus so he can go back and save the remaining Baghurst. He wants to save the Baghurst. And that is how chapter 8 ends, if I'm remembering correctly. I will just have a quick noses. But I'm pretty certain, yeah. I'll hear your tale now, old one. So he frees the chains and says, tell me your tale, tell me your story. So we're obviously going to get more lore from the perspective of the White Faces, the Baghurst. So I'm looking forward to that. So we're on to chapter 9 now, folks. So I will update you with more information as I have read through there. Back again. So we took a little time there. It has been a couple of hours, but I was reading through chapter 9. I was getting the whole chapter done. And I have read a little bit into chapter 10, but we're going to cover chapter 9 right now. Not a great deal to really report back. Interesting in regards to where Tok, Tool and Lady Envy, the 3 Segulae and the 2 dogs end up. They're in Bastion now. And as they enter Bastion, Lady Envy is coming across a little bit skittery. I think that's probably to do with the conversation that she's had with Krull. She's feeling a little bit of trepidation, I think, into entering. But her and Tok do end up having a conversation about the Talani Mas and the potential end of war and what that would do to the Talani Mas, which therefore means that they would potentially have no more objective. Their objective would be over because they are a clan destined for war, predominantly with the Jaghurt, but they're a clan destined for war. And if there is no war to be had, then what is there for the Talani Mas to do? Sorry, I've got something in my eye. What is there for the Talani Mas to do? And the cause for concern there is that the Talani Mas have outlived their deities. They've outlived the spirits that could potentially have protected them. So when they do cross over or whatever it is they do, there will be nobody there waiting to embrace them. So that then leads Tok to have some sort of empathy towards Tool, and he feels bad because obviously he has become his friend, so he feels quite wounded upon that information, and he doesn't want that to be the case, but obviously he also doesn't want the war to continue. So it's a very kind of seesaw of emotions to be on, where you don't want your friend to be lost like that, but you also don't want the war to continue. So I quite enjoyed that little snippet. Sadly then, as we continue on our little adventure through Bastion, we come across the Kachan Chamail. Again, there's another demon. So the 3 Segulay go for it. They go and attack this Kachan Chamail, and they make mincemeat of it. It's just done over in a flash, done with. They don't need Tool to get involved. Tok doesn't need to get involved. The dogs don't really need to get involved, but they could do if they wanted to, but they don't really seem to. And they've managed to get rid of it, wipe it out. But with Tool and the way he is within his clan, because he's the first sword, if I think I've got that right, he then feels like he's been outshone by the Segulay. So then he wants to right the wrong in as far as his standing goes, his pride as a Talani Mas. So he wants to then fight the Segulay, but Lady Envy is not having any of it. So the two of the brothers sheath their swords because they know not to cross her. But the younger, or at least one of them anyway, called Mock, is more than happy to fight with Tool. So Lady Envy, to stop that, because they're all meant to be going along together, they're meant to be a unit, not fighting amongst themselves. So she puts a stop to Mock by putting him in like what seems like a sleep spell. But Tool is of the thought process that, well, I'll get my way whichever way we do it, whether we have to wait till we get to where the bridge burners are, or whether we have to, whatever is going to happen, I will get my pride restored as first sword. So there's that going on. So once they've done all that, then they reach Hamlet, and in Hamlet it's very interesting, quite actually informative yet somewhat funny. They get into Hamlet, and there's 3 priests that have heard word of their arrival. They've come to meet them basically to get them out of danger, to get them away from what's about to happen. And there's this kind of entity, or I don't know what we call it because I'm not entirely sure as to exactly what it is, but they try. Am I right here, or am I jumping ahead of myself? Oh no, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Once they reach Hamlet, there's ramshackled buildings, and they see a temple. Right, yes, I'm jumping ahead of myself. So they get to the temple, and the temple is the temple of the Pani and Damin. And as they go in, they're escorted in by this naked, weird man. And as they go in, there's bodies of the villagers strewn on the walls, hanging on hooks. Grotesque. I think this goes to say a lot for... How do I put this? We're talking about a religious war. Everything to do with Malazan so far is a religious war. Some faction or other believes that their mindset is the correct mindset, and that's what they're fighting for. And they're obviously so wrapped up in their faith that they feel that they need to create these wars against other faiths that don't necessarily think the same way that they do. And that's why I believe, it's going to go on for a very long time, because if it's not one religion, then it's another religion, and so on and so forth. I personally have no personal thoughts or to any religion. But what I do believe is that if your religion is telling you that you are, in order to progress as a religion, you need to sacrifice people, or that's part and parcel of your religion is sacrificing people, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not down for that idea. And that seems to be a good part of what the Pani and Damin is about, is these villagers needed to be rewarded, was the word used, for what they did. So this was their reward, and now they're displayed as like, you would a trophy. They're like trophies, which is quite disturbing. But they go into this temple, and then they're introduced to the seer Damin called Cult. And Cult seems to be the head of this particular order. And he's looking at the Segule, knowing who they are and where they're from, and the issues that have been mentioned prior in the book to, excuse me, to the Panian priests going to where the Segule are and asking them to join and convert, and they wouldn't. So they're then going to send an army. They're aware of this whole situation. So they assume that these 3 particular Segule have approached to seek recompense and apologise and join the collection of Panian. Obviously, that's not the case at all. So there's a little tension in the air there. So they know, Lady Envy knows that they are all, her party is all at threat. Tok also knows, but when Tok's looking at Lady Envy and she doesn't seem to be reacting in the way that he's reacting, he's thinking that she's taking this quite lightly, potentially even finding humour in the subject, and he's getting awfully nervous about this. He's not feeling too good about this whole situation. I think he wants to up and run and just be gone out of this situation. But Lady Envy just seems to be taking things in a stride. I mean, as you would if you've got the powers that she has, potentially you would take things in your stride. Tok, however, at this moment in time, I do believe he's going to too become something. But at this moment in time, he doesn't really have sort of anything to kind of defend himself with. They go in, they're given their rooms of where they're going to spend the evening. They have something to eat. There's a conversation about what the Panian believe to be right and their way of thought. And Lady Envy is just entertaining it with a nice smile and a nice head nod. Not causing any eruptions. She knows. She's got this planned. She already knows. She knows the dogs aren't particularly welcome, so they have to be outside while the people rest. So they get their rooms, and Tok is awoken in the middle of the night by a commotion, a disturbance, noises, crashing, screaming, and next thing you know, Balag and Gareth have smashed through walls, and they've sort of broken into Tok's room, and at one point, Lady Envy shrinks Balag to make him look smaller. He's back to his size again, if not bigger. And Gareth now is looking different. He seems to have transformed into what is a Hound of Shadow. And Balag is an eye, a Talan eye. So these 2 dogs now are running riot round this tower and basically getting rid of the Seer Domin to allow Tok, Lady Envy, to escape there without the threat of harm, because that's what was going to happen, is that the Seer Domin were potentially going to kill them. So the dogs have rescued them. So that's what's happened in the tower. Have a conversation, find out that Lady Envy's kiss, because she's getting a little bit fed up with Tok's answers to what she's asking, and we do find out that Lady Envy's kiss is the factor that could be what could bind Tok to her sort of enslavement, her bidding, make him do her bidding. But she chooses to keep him as he is. She likes him as he is. And we also find out that the Panians came from Genostellians. They are Genostellians, which are seafarers. And we also find out that it seems like Lady Envy, which I kind of guessed, Lady Envy was in love with Rake. When they were doing their wandering. She may well have been in love with Rake, because she makes the same comment about Tok and his insufferable sort of ways, that Rake was the same, how she just wanted Rake to choose to kiss her, and she just kind of wants Tok to choose to kiss her. So we kind of find that out. But it seems that the Bastion Tower is now ruined by the dogs. and fair play, because they were doing it to allow them to escape. So as they enter, so that was in Hamlet. Sorry, all that was based in Hamlet. They're headed to Bastion. That was based in Hamlet. Now they're in Bastion, and they've met 3 priests. And the 3 priests are in sort of the town square, if you like. They've heard elements of that these guys are going to show up. So they've come there to sort of hide them down an alleyway. Because what's about to happen in the square, they don't want to be stood there and seen. So they hide them down this alleyway, or at least they think they do. And there is this spectral that's going to happen, this miracle, apparently, of this entity called an embrasure. Now, not sure what an embrasure is quite yet. It does say that it was due to the faith. The citizens had embraced this Panian faith like a fever. It's like a fever abating death, it says in the book. A seer ventured from the mountain, speaking the word of truth, and the power rippled out, and faith flowed. A caravan first rewarded the first child of the Dead Sea. So the first child of the Dead Seed. This is a bit freaky deaky, the first child of the Dead Seed. So what it explains is that at some point, a woman, how do I explain this without YouTube going, you can't say that. A woman did things with a body that is no longer alive, took the seed, and bore a child from that seed. So they believe that the living dead is a thing to worship. So this first child that was born this way has now come of age. To do what as yet, I'm not sure. But this first child has come of age, and they've called it Anaster. So this child's name is Anaster. So what's about to happen is Anaster, with his mother at his side, they're going to go to the town square, and they're leading the Tenescauer. They are leading the Tenescauer. I believe the Tenescauer means the group of people coming along with them. I'm not quite sure, could be wrong, but we've heard Tenescauer mentioned previously in the book. Right now I forget what it was earlier on in the book, but I know we definitely heard that word earlier, and it's leading me to believe that it's the people who have the faith, who are following the embrasure into the town square to see what's going to happen. And apparently this is what's going to happen. A woman is going to choose a not living person to do this with. Okay, so it's like death's kiss of life. So in death you can gain life, and this is part and parcel of a religion that this particular group of people in Bastion are following. And what happens is, as they enter into the town square, the fellow that's on horseback looks and sees Lady Envy, talk, etc. Tool at this point isn't there. He's gone back to where he goes when he's not in full form, which I presume is like the sand or the soil where maybe he's buried or whatever. But they're trying to hide in this alleyway, but this gentleman on a horse sees them and does this scream to inform the rest of the people that they're there, and they then go charging over. So they're then panic-stricken, kind of. Lady Envy never panics about anything. She's slowly but surely growing on me as a character. I like her dry sense of humour. I like how calm she is in situations. I just like that whole air of her constantly seeming to be in control. I also liked, though, the vulnerability when she was with Krull. So she's quite growing on me as a character, Lady Envy. And so the rest of them, as they are, the Segule, the Baljag, Garath, decide to just go all in and attack and go for it. Lady Envy obviously takes a step back and lets her fighters fight for her. That's part and parcel of what she does. They're all under her control. The dogs aren't, but the Segule are. and they're there to protect her. So she just lets that carry on while she takes a step back. But Tok turns around and says, I'm off, I'm joining the religion, I'll see you later. And Lady Envy's like, hold up a minute, you can't be running off. We've got things to do. And he's like, no, I'm out of here. So I think Tok's mentality is to join with the religion in a way, and to be able to get to the north, to be able to warn his friends that this is what's coming, or at least maybe get there safely, in some form of safety, because he absolutely believes that he's not got the capabilities to cope with what's going on. He doesn't have magic. He's not like Tol. He can't fight like Tol. He can't fight like the Segule. He doesn't have the dogs at his disposal. He doesn't have the powers Lady Envy has. So how's he meant to defend himself? So he's off. If he has to seek solace in this religion, that's what he's going to do. He's going to pretend so he can get to safety, and then he'll go back to potentially the side that he should be on. However, that may not end up being the case. Things may happen to Tok because he has got this elder who speaks to him. He may well end up being somebody who's taken by the crippled god because of his mental instability. The crippled god seems to be preying on people who have some sort of revenge or something within their mental state, and he's using that to draw them in and make them part and parcel of his new setup. So that may well happen with Tok, and then again it might not. This might just be a case of ride the wave till you get to where you want to be. It might just be as simple as that. And that's where chapter 9 ends. I think I've read them backwards, honestly. That's where chapter 9 ends. It was certainly entertaining. It was definitely a nice read. I wouldn't say that it was informative, but it was definitely entertaining. There was little bits of information. Definitely not as informative as chapters 6 and 7, where you're getting all the lore. I kind of enjoyed them more. And now we're into chapter 10, and we're back with Gruntle in chapter 10. So if I have time today, I will continue with one last post of chapter 10. If I don't, I will just nip back on and do a thank you, etc. video. So thank you, and I will see you potentially in a few. So we're just going to wrap up this video now. I have started reading into chapter 10. We've read a little bit about the poem or such at the beginning of chapter 10, talking about Mother Dark and how she bore the first tea standee, who were dearest dwellers of land before light. And then she had the second Tislians, who were the light itself. But the jealousy, I presume, from the Tistandi meant that they denied their mother. So they were then cast aside, cast out. And then she bore the third Tistidor, who were the shadow upon their souls. So that's how this chapter begins. I haven't quite properly looked into that yet, but I will do after this video. And we go back to Gruntle and the crew. Having lost Harlow, Gruntle is drinking, drowning himself in his sorrows, and Buke is there for him as a friend, and Stoney is getting quite annoyed with the fact that, he's doing this. She needs him, and she doesn't want him to be doing this. She wants him to be, up on his feet and doing what he needs to be doing. So she's quite annoyed with him. But Gruntle is, he's just kind of drinking himself into a bit of a place where he probably doesn't have to feel about what Harlow did and have a thought about it, because Harlow basically gave his life for Gruntle, and Gruntle's obviously feeling some guilt towards that. So that's where we're up to. So we're going to find out tomorrow where we carry on with Gruntle. And yeah, been an interesting day. I hope you guys have enjoyed the videos, enjoyed the vlog today. If you've watched till the end, let me know in the comments. Like the video. You can happily subscribe. It's free. It's all for free. And yeah, I just want to thank you for your continued support in this adventure through May of Memories of Ice. Hopefully we're going to get to a second book in May. I'm not used to reading this slow. So I do feel like I should be moving along quicker. So I'm going to probably try and maybe read just that bit quicker, see if I can do whole chapters, maybe 2 before maybe do a whole chapter and then film, rather than filming in between. But if something does crop up where I have a question, such as which of tens, who is bugging me, and who Quick Ben really is, which I don't think we're going to find out in this book. I think that's going to be way later in the series. What the crippled god's plans are, we kind of know, but where are they going? So unless questions like that come up, I think I will just continue to write, make some notes, and then pop on and do my thoughts so far. So yes, that's today's vlog, day 4. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate you all so much, and love the fact that you continue to stay with me on this journey. Thank you so much, guys. Have yourselves a great day.